Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. My name is Buffy, and this video is a part of my 300-hour teacher training program with Edge Yoga School. I am bringing various topics in the yoga world to the table, learning right alongside you other 300-hour teacher trainers, and we have been going through this nap time series. We talked about a lot of things, but my longest mini-series in this has been on the chakras, and today we're going to talk about Chakra 5, Sound. This is all taken from this awesome book called Wheels of Life by Enodea Judith. I've walked you through the other 4 chakras. Sorry, we're actually on, chakra 6. I was wrong. We already did 1 through 5. On other videos. So if you haven't caught those, they really build on each other. There's actually an intro video to the chakras, and then there's 1 through 5, and now we're getting into 6. Yes, so chakra 6 is light, color, seeing, intuition, visualization, imagination, clairvoyance, vision. And as with all of her other chapters, she starts out with an opening meditation that's really lovely. I'm not going to read through it this time. I really recommend buying this book if you're interested in digging deeper into the chakras, even just to have it as like a reference guide as you continue to learn more about the chakra system. So the Sanskrit name is Ajna. The meaning of that word is to perceive or to command. The location is center of the head, slightly above the eye level. Your third eye is there as well. So the element here is light. The other elements we've had were the elements we're familiar with on Earth. We started with earth, moved into water, then to fire, then to air, and then we got into sound. Now we're moving into light. The function of this chakra is seeing, intuition. The gland associated with it is the pineal gland. Other body parts, obviously the eyes. Malfunctions in your 6th chakra can manifest as blindness, headaches, nightmares, eye strain, or blurred vision. The color usually associated with it is indigo. The seed sound is Om. The vowel sound is which is not actually a vowel in this case. And the corresponding verb, I always like to point out, is I see. I see. The winged perceiver. So Albert Einstein says that imagination is more important than knowledge, and I totally agree with that. I homeschool my children, as you know if you've watched any of my other videos, my 4 children, and imagination is a huge part of our curriculum. And it really guides our learning experience. And I love the idea of being a lifelong learner and always having that imagination ignited and guiding you. Our imagination is so powerful, and if you can think it, it's real. So darkness and light have intertwined here to bring us one of the greatest gifts of consciousness, which is the ability to see. If you think about it, we are conscious beings, and the ability to see with our eyes is just one of our senses, and it's really incredible sense. We'll learn more about it here. We're able to instantaneously take in enormous amounts of information about our surroundings with our eyesight. I mean, we probably use that sensory organ the most. Through seeing, we have both a means of internalizing the outer world and a symbolic language for externalizing the inner world. So this chakra is transcending time. The higher up that we go with the chakra system, the more blurry the edges and the more vague our understanding really is, because we're moving away from concrete form, from the base root chakra, moving up into abstract thought and enlightenment. So just take in what you can from learning about the higher level chakras, and it will build as a lot like our learning is building in this program. It will build with time, and as you hear more and more about it repeatedly, you'll when you're ready to receive the information, you will understand more. So it's often called the brow chakra, and it's located right here at the center of the head, right behind the forehead, or like slightly above your eye level. I encourage you to find yours. The third eye, which is an etheric organ of psychic perception, is floating between our two physical eyes here, and it's in the same location. The third eye sees beyond the physical world, bringing us added insight, just as reading between the lines of written material brings us deeper understanding. So as I mentioned, the Sanskrit word for this chakra is ajna. Ajna means to perceive, and later came to mean to command. So this speaks to like the twofold nature of this chakra, which is to take in images through perception, but also to form inner images from which we can command our reality. It's commonly known as creative visualization. So not only are we interpreting information, taking in stimulus and information, but we're also able to creatively visualize and imagine from the space, if that makes sense for you. One reason our visualizations don't always manifest is because so often we encounter interference along the descent to manifestation. Okay. That interference could be someone else's circumstances, fears from the unconscious, or simply lack of clarity in our visualization. I apologize, my allergies are bothering me. So there's only 2 petals in this chakra. You can see this image here, which, you know, we've been ascending in number of petals as we go up. But she says that this could have several meanings. It could be the 2 worlds of reality, the manifest and the unmanifest. It could point out the 2 physical eyes that surround the third eye, our 2 eyes here. And the petals can also resemble wings. I like this part, which symbolizes the ability of this chakra to transcend time and space and allow the inner spirit to fly through that creative visualization, right? So the corresponding element here, as I mentioned, is light. And that can just mean interpreting light, and it can go into meaning referring to the people who are gifted with psychic perception, people who can see auras, chakras, details of astral planes, precognition, which is like seeing things that are going to happen in the future, which is really just imagining, and remote viewing, seeing things in other places. So light is the corresponding element here. So it's located in the head, and by nature, it's more mental than any of the other chakras we've gone through so far. Just by where it's located, you can see the pineal gland, which is associated with this chakra, is right here at the center of the head. As we become more mental, we leave behind the limitations of time and space and enter a transpersonal dimension. Awesome. This chapter kind of blew my mind. Some of the stuff in here is going to take me a while to understand too, but I'm happy to be diving deeper into it with you. So yeah, the pineal gland is sometimes known as the seat of the soul. It's kind of mysterious. It has over 100 body functions and their daily rhythms, and there are influenced by exposure to light. So she proposes the question, does this gland, the pineal gland, have a mystic function that presently lies dormant, waiting for some sort of spiritual or cultural awakening? Studies have shown that light has a definite effect on the health and behavior of plants and mammals. Could it be that the pineal gland plays some secret role in the link between light and the chemistry of the body? She goes on to talk about melatonin that's used as a sleep aid a lot now, that actually our body creates on its own, but people take it as a supplement kind of to help them fall asleep faster. And when you do take it, if you've ever taken it, you might have experienced crazy dreams. I know I have. And that just points to the relevance of the inner visions that you have linked with melatonin and the pineal gland. And now that it's so widely used, she says it's going to be interesting to see if there's any long-term effects and if our psychic sensitivity is heightened as a cultural, because a lot of people are taking melatonin now. She moves into light. So light is a higher, faster vibration than sound, which is what we talked about with the throat chakra. It's a part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and we perceive it as visible light. Ultraviolet radiation, radio waves, X-rays, and microwaves are just a few of the many waveforms within the spectrum that we can't necessarily see with our eyes. Light is the form directly perceivable by consciousness, whereas sound, what we explored with the throat chakra, is expressed through a wave-like oscillation of air molecules. Light is a far finer vibrational energy. It's produced by radiative emission from atomic and molecular systems that undergo energy level transitions. So in a very real sense, light is the voice of atoms and molecules, whereas sound is the voice of larger structures. I really liked that. Made sense. This gets really scientific in this chapter. She starts to talk about how light travels fastest of any of the elements we have discussed so far. 186,000 miles per second is the fastest known speed of any material substance that we know of. So the speed of light transcends our concept of time. If you were able to travel at the speed of light, you would not be experiencing time. Time would cease to pass. Like you think about time machines, things like that. So the Ajna chakra transcends time. She talks about, stars that have gone supernova. You can see the stars still. We don't even know that, even if they have died or gone supernova or whatever. Like, we won't know that for a really long time. So it just is an example of how fast light is moving and how far away those are. Light is an electromagnetic energy. She mentions that. So that was just kind of some cool science associated with this chakra. She goes into color. Color is the form through which we perceive light. It's the very fabric of our seeing. So the hotter colors like reds, oranges, and yellows, which you kind of start to see the rainbow of the chakras, those are lower frequency. Cooler colors like green, blue, and violet are higher frequency. So the hot and cool are just our own subjective assessments. They're not saying anything about the actual energy of the light, but it's just the way we talk about it, like hot and cool. So light is produced by the excitation and de-excitation of electrons within the atom. I thought that was really cool. And this gets super sciencey, but they make a quantum leap to the next level. And every time that happens, that's when they absorb a certain amount of energy and it's released. And then if they fall back toward the nucleus, the energy is released as a photon of light. I never learned this stuff, so it's all really new to me. I did not focus very much in high school, maybe when they were teaching this, I don't know, but it was blowing my mind. Kind of cool. So it makes sense that the higher chakras are the lighter colors that we associate. They're not actually that color, it should be noted. But the reason we associate them with those cooler colors is because they're higher energy and a higher frequency. So red stimulates the heart and nervous system. It's associated with aggression, with anger. You think about red, beginning of things. Blues are usually associated with peace and tranquility. People tell you to paint your bedroom blue so you have, peaceful night's sleep. She talks about fluorescent lights and how they have such a negative influence on plants and animals and humans alike. I hate fluorescent lights. I always turn them off if I can. That's because it doesn't have the full spectrum of light. On the other hand, sunlight has the full spectrum, and it has been shown to help heal arthritis, cancer, and other diseases, being exposed to that complete spectrum of light. Color does things to us. It's so cool. She talks about like these different studies that have been done on color therapy. It's awesome because it is doing something to molecular levels of our being. It's transmuting and changing us, and it matters. Light matters. It's kind of cool. So light does have an enormous effect on our mind and on our body. It's not just the vitamin D from the sun. It's the full spectrum of light. She says, if sound waves affect the physical arrangement of subtle energy, it would follow that color, being such a high octave of material manifestation, could influence matter in much the same way. For this reason, color has been used in healing with remarkable success. And she talks about some of those studies that have been done. Like treatments of blue have been shown to provide permanent relief from cases of sciatica and inflammation. Yellow light has helped to bring mental clarity. Red to combat physical exhaustion. Gold and orange to help diabetics. And she says, like, if diseases start on a subtle level, like we don't necessarily totally understand how diseases start, but it's on a subtle level, then why aren't they treated on a subtle level more often, like using things like color, especially in conjunction with positive visualization. So the color of the chakras follow a logical progression through the spectrum, correlating the lowest frequency, the red at the root chakra, all the way up to violet at the top. Here's that picture. It's kind of dark in here, but red, we've got orange, golden yellow, green at the heart, blue at the throat, purple here, what we're talking about at the third eye, and then violet at the very top. We're in indigo, I guess, right now. So something cool to play with is choosing colors to wear that complement a chakra that you feel weak in or that you are working with. She talks about how she was lacking yellow for a while and she started to just like wear yellow. You'll notice I'm wearing some yellow quartz today because of what she talks about. So she had like metabolic issues and things related to the third chakra, like low energy and feeling powerless, which I also experienced those at times. She started wearing a yellow topaz and yellow clothing, and it helped her attitude considerably to the point where people were making comments. So kind of cool. And, you know, it could just be, what's that called when they give you a placebo, like fake medicine that actually helps people. Who knows? But I think it's real, and I think it's pretty cool. She starts to talk about the holographic theory, which I found, that's the part that kind of blew my mind. It's really cool. She talks about how our mind is a hologram, and the hologram is just a three-dimensional image that's formed by two intersecting laser beams. You think about like Star Wars, and they had like the incoming message, I think it was Star Wars, with like a person on a hologram. And then she just starts to talk about memories seem to be stored omnipresently in the brain, just like the plate stores the holographic information. She describes in detail that a hologram is a plate, and you can point the exact laser at the right place, if I remember right, and it'll show that image just the way it was in real life. Our perception of the world around us seems to be a reconstruction of a neural hologram within the brain. Mind is not located in a place. What we have is a holograph-like machinery that turns out images, which we perceive as existing somewhere outside the machinery. Whoa. And she says this can explain remote viewing, clairvoyance, mystic visions, and precognition. So maybe you see something that hasn't happened yet in the future, but it's like everything has already kind of happened, if you think about it. Then the universe itself might be kind of a hologram. There's a fly in here. I'm sorry if it's distracting. So yeah, she talks a lot about that. And according to one guy who's like a big proponent for this theory that the universe is a hologram. They call it a holoflux because it's too big to be called a hologram. But he says the universe is enfolded, almost like when you fold an egg into a cake batter. The enfoldment allows for an infinite number of interference capabilities, giving us the forms and energies that we experience with our holographic minds. So in this context, the brain itself would be part of a larger hologram with all of the information possible accessible to the brain, if only you could line up your lasers, or like get aligned enough to understand the whole. But as pieces, we each reflect the whole. And if it's true, if there is an inner and outer world, both of which mirror the entire creation, which you kind of can see that when you look at creation, then we as parts contain the information of the whole. So that is very humbling and an honor to think about, as does everything around us. So it's not just us. Not only does a grain of sand describe the universe in which it occurs, but each of our minds also contains the encoded information of a greater intelligence, just waiting for the right reference beam to trigger the image. Kind of cool. As we slowly dissolve our self-created ego boundaries and embrace more universal states of being, we are merging our consciousness with the greater hologram. Or are we? That's her question she's posing. Carl Pribram, that has done a lot of study with this, he says, not only do we construct our perceptions of the world, but we also go out and construct those perceptions in the world. We make tables and bicycles and musical instruments because we can think of them. It's this principle that best illustrates the ability of the Ajna chakra to perceive and to command. So this is that creative visualization, that manifesting that we're able to do from this space, and the psychic reception and projection of imagery with the outside world. She moves into seeing. 90% of our information that we receive comes through our eyes. So that's more than any other organ or sensory organ, as I mentioned earlier. Visual information can be defined as a pattern that communicates spatial relationships, reaching us without the necessity of physical contact, like touch. Like we can see things farther away than we can actually engage with them. These relationships describe form as in size and shape, color, intensity, location, movement, and behavior. But if you think about it, it's not really our eyes that see, it's our minds. So our eyes are just bringing the information. Our minds make sense of it and help us see. Like that phrase, oh, I see, doesn't mean you literally see. It means it makes sense. So kind of cool. When we look at the world around us, we think that we see objects, but we really see light reflected off of those objects, and we see what they're not. We see the spaces between them, the spaces around them. We can't actually see the object. So if we see red, then that object absorbs all frequencies except for red. So like my dress is blue, so it's absorbing all frequencies except for the higher frequencies of blue. Oh, so cool. I wore this. Oh, that's for the throat chakra. Never mind. Then she goes into clairvoyance. In order to see, you have to stop being in the middle of the picture. That's a quote by Sri Aurobindo. So yeah, like I said, I see usually means like I understand. You take in that part of information and fit it into the whole scheme of things. Just like talking about that hologram, it clarifies the whole picture. Each new thing we look at becomes immediately incorporated into our sense of wholeness and bringing more clarity to our internal picture. One of the things, so my philosophy of education with educating my children is rooted in Waldorf philosophies. Rudolf Steiner is the guy, if you want to look into it, but he really is a huge proponent of, or was, he's passed now, but a huge proponent of teaching from the whole rather than from the parts. So when you learn math, you learn every function of, let's say you're learning number 2, you learn every part of number 2, and you have more of a relationship with the number rather than it just being this abstract mathematical language. And first you learn addition, first you learn subtraction. No, you learn everything about that number all at once, and then you move on. Same thing with reading. They don't break it up into phonics and then, handwriting. It's like, I'm going to tell you a story and you're going to hear, and you're going to listen. Anyway, I could keep going about it, but teaching from the whole rather than the parts is what I'm trying to speak on about that. That's the one thing I'm really attracted to about that philosophy of education. All right, if you close your eyes and remember your first car, you may be able to see the color, the texture of the upholstery, maybe a small dent on one side. In your mind's eye, you can walk around the car, seeing the front and the back as you choose, just like the three-dimensional effect of a hologram. The actual car need not currently exist. The image exists apart from it. By focusing our attention, the image is retrieved. I thought that was pretty awesome and really to her point about the holograms. Can you create an equally vivid picture of a car you would like to have? Can you picture the color, the make, the vanity plate on the back? Can you visualize yourself driving in it, going down a country road, the feel of the steering wheel in your hand? I know I can visualize the car that I would like. That car might not ever be yours, so your visualization is called imagination, even though it may seem just as real as your memory. If, however, you want a sweepstake and a car such as this, as the one you just visualized, came to you, then your visualization could be considered precognitive, a form of clairvoyance, right? So the difference lies in the result, but the process is the same. So cool. So through development of visualization and imagination, we simultaneously develop the means for clairvoyance. So we are transcending time with the sixth chakra. We're actively creating the reference beam that will bring forth the image rather than just waiting for some point in the future time when a circumstance will call for it. We are calling it into creation. To quote Marion Zimmer Bradley, I don't decide, she's a novelist, she says, I don't decide where my stories are going. I just peek into the future and write down what happened. Kind of cool. So yeah, you gotta find the correct reference beam to get what you're wanting. And you can do that by focusing on what you're wanting rather than what you're lacking, kind of getting into that power of the law of attraction. Visualization is so powerful. I talked to you guys about my vision board that I do every January. It's crazy how the things just flow. You don't even have to work for them. They just come to you. Emptying the mind of images through meditation paradoxically allows one to better see what the images that you're seeking are. Kind of cool. All right, getting into chakra 6 exercises, yogic eye exercises. So a lot of times in my classes when I'm cueing a twist, I will also cue for the eyes to turn all the way that direction. This is a cool, more all-encompassing eye exercise. She has you close your eyes and kind of rest in that space of comfort and nothingness from which we came in our mother's womb. And then when you open your eyes, you'll jet them side to side a few times, and then you'll close them again, recenter, and then you'll open in corner to corner, other corner to other corner, and then eventually all the way around. Actually feels really good, especially if you've been sitting at a computer or looking at your phone a lot. It's nice. The color meditation is really easy and fun. You can go through the colors of the chakras and visualize like a white light above the head, and from that white light you can pull down first red all the way down, feel it go through all the way down, and hold it there, and just see if it was easy to hold there, if it felt like you had an abundance of it, or if it was difficult, then and so on with the next color and the next color all the way till you get to the top. And then I like to encompass myself in like a white light egg at the end. It's really nice. And when you finish it, you create heat and cover the eyes. Yeah, I really recommend buying this book because it has all these awesome exercises. The photo blink is when you just quickly look at an image or a person, and almost like the opposite of blinking, like you just open your eyes and then close them. And with your eyes closed, you see that after image, and you can see colors around it, like if you want to be more perceptive of auras or chakra alignment in someone. Meditating is probably the most useful exercise for strengthening the third eye, just meditating and focusing the attention to the center of the head, right between the eyebrows. Yeah, so those were all of the exercises this time. She didn't give any yoga asana because, as I mentioned, we're moving further away from form and higher up into perceptions and ideas. The next chakra we'll talk about is the last one, chakra 7, thought. So tune in next time. I'm excited to dive into this more with you. I hope that you are learning a lot right alongside me. This has been really fun and a great way to get this deeper into my head. So I hope that the videos are helpful for you too. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.